Chapter 3. Okay, I think I did that backwards. Chapter 3, DND number 7, Warriors in Jesus' name. Chapter 3. No, I didn't do it wrong. What a day. Do you think your agents are finished at the house? Breeze asked as she watched Bella and Gordon drive away from the governor's mansion. Joey took her by the elbow to guide her to her car. They finished hours ago. I'm sorry for the pause, but it keeps saying I'm losing connection. I want to make sure I'm on. I'll start over. Do you think your agents are finished at the house? Breeze asked as she watched Bella and Gordon drive away from the governor's mansion. Joey took her by the elbow to guide her to her car. They finished hours ago. Oh, well, who's going to be listening in on them? Well, tonight it will be me, and then we'll have shifts. The most danger is during the evening hours, like 5 to midnight, which I will take. Breeze turned to him. I can't thank you enough. I feel so much better knowing that you'll be looking out for her. Joey grinned. Well, should I take that to mean that I've won your trust? Breeze smiled. Where Bella is concerned, yes. They arrived at Breeze's car, and she turned to offer a smile before she opened her door, but Joey was right there, pressing his palms to the driver's side window. He trapped her against her car door. And how about where you're concerned, Bree Sheridan, he murmured, close to her ear. Do you trust me to take care of you? She gave a short burst of laughter. I trust you about as far as I can throw you. Then I intimidate you, he said, leaning closer. Breeze held her chin up high. No one intimidates me. Joey chuckled. Now that I believe. Lifting his hand, he rubbed the back of his knuckles down her cheek. Beautiful Breeze. If I asked you for a kiss goodnight, would you give it to me? Bree's eyes glittered indignantly. Absolutely not. I barely even know you. Well, then I won't ask. His head dipped and he kissed her. Her hands came up to press on his chest as she struggled to push him away, but he gentled the kiss. And Breeze's eyes fell closed and her hands stopped trying to push him away and instead grabbed the lapels of his jacket. Here was a man she found difficult to resist. Strong, confident, self-assured, and Lord, the man could kiss. His clever mouth moved over hers, coaxing a response from her. Her heart pounded, and she found it hard to catch her breath. She felt him move even closer. He pulled back, smiled at her, and then kissed her one more time before he lifted his head and stepped back. It was the arrogant smile on his face that reminded her that she hadn't given him permission to kiss her. Catching her breath and smoothing her hair, she frowned. You are incorrigible, she hissed. So I've been told. I suppose you're going to tell me that was part of your job, too? Oh, no, that was purely for pleasure. I have to go. He helped her into her car and had to jump back when Breeze practically slammed the door on him. Smiling broadly, he knocked on the window. Drive safe. She rolled her eyes and peeled out. Joey chuckled as he watched her drive away. His cell vibrated and he pulled it out and read the text message. Eric out of danger. All is well. Smiling, he said a prayer of thanks and headed to his car. He needed to hightail it back to the Landau's home. New scene. Joey chugged down the contents of a Red Bull, adjusted his earbud, and continued typing the report for Jason on his laptop. All was quiet on the home front. Joey sat in his car slightly down the road from the Landau home. The home on Mulholland had a long drive but no security gate and was easily seen from the street. Gordon would want to make sure his wealth was visible, Joey thought. Joey arrived at his stakeout just in time to see his brother Mark pull into the drive. He listened to Mark tell the story of what had happened to Eric. Bella was horrified, and Gordon pretended to be concerned. The moment Mark left the home, Gordon ordered Logan to bed. The boy wisely did not argue. Joey then listened as Gordon berated Mark, the Keno family in general, and Ricky and Bree because they were actors. That brought Gordon around to Joey. Joey smiled as he listened to Gordon's opinion of his sister-in-law's new love and the horrible family she would be involving herself with, which of course was ridiculous. The Keno family was highly respected in most circles. Gordon let Bella know that if Breeze ended up marrying that cocky little punk, he'd have to put a complete halt to Bella seeing her sister. Joey held his breath, his eyes darting to the monitor on his dash, not sure if Bella would argue with Gordon on the subject. If she did, Joey may have to reveal himself early in the game, for he wouldn't allow Bella to be hurt on his watch. If it had been Breeze that Gordon was talking to, she would have laughed in his face. But Breeze's sister was nothing like her. Bella was meek, broken, and obviously abused, just as Breeze had said. Thankfully, when Gordon told Bella he'd restrict her from seeing her sister, she showed the same wisdom as her son. She kept her mouth closed, professed her exhaustion, and went to bed. 30 minutes later, though, Gordon had joined her, and Joey listened to the anguished sounds Bella let slip, and he knew full well that what he heard wasn't love being made. It was, in essence, rape. Not that Bella had told her husband no. She'd be too afraid to do that. Joey heard her wince a few more times, and then thankfully it was over. Hopefully all would be quiet the rest of the night. Joey would spend that time writing up his report. As his mind went over the course of the evening, it came to rest on Breeze. Hard to believe she was 4 years younger than Bella. That would make her 27. The woman was strong, beautiful, and loved her sister. In some ways, the sisters could pass for twins. Their faces were similar, yet he would say Breeze had sharper angles. They both had black hair. Bella's was longer and stick straight. Bree's hair fell in ringlets and just touched her shoulders. Both had gorgeous blue eyes. He couldn't say they both had beautiful smiles because he'd never seen Bella smile, but he could say Breeze's mouth was as alluring as a mug of hot spiced rum on a cold winter's night. He thought of the first time he'd kissed her under the stairs at the governor's mansion. It'd been merely it'd been merely a diversion, but the jolt had taken him by surprise. She tasted so good, and he hadn't wanted to stop. Several times over the evening, he found himself thinking about it, which wasn't like him at all when he was on the job. So he'd indulged a second time when he'd walked her to the car. He licked his lips at the memory. She did something to him. Never had he felt such a charge, such an attraction to anyone. It was strong, this pull she had on him. He liked her strength, her feisty temperament, and the soft spot she reserved for her elder sister. Family loyalty was high on his list, and he had to admire her resolve to rescue Bella. At Breeze's car, he leaned forward and breathed in her scent and was lost. He'd realized he'd wanted her, and judging from her reaction to his kiss, it would not have been very difficult to seduce her. But there were several reasons not to. She was a client, and that would be the fastest way to lose his position at Ameritech. She was the sister of his assignment. And most importantly, that's not how a Christian man operates. He knew this woman would be like a drug. One would never be enough. One time would never be enough. One taste had already not been enough, which is why he would try to quell this desire. He had a job to do. New scene. Hey, kiddo, Mark said when Eric opened his eyes. Eric blinked. Hey, Uncle Mark. Hey, Jojo. How you feeling? A little dizzy. He closed his eyes again. They said it would pass. His eyes searched the room. Where's Mom and Dad? Well, you were sleeping pretty good, so they stepped out to grab a bite to eat. So, did my dad tell you that he's pissed at me or anything like that? Eric asked. Mark smiled at him. Well, not in so many words. I'm sure he's waiting for you to get better before he lowers the boom. It was my fault, Eric said. I mean, I sort of wanted to show off, big tough guy, watch me kick this guy's butt. You did show him for a second anyway, Jojo said. Don't encourage him, Mark said. Look, we're all feeling a little guilty. I should have stuck a little closer to you guys. Jojo thinks he should have seen it coming, and you shouldn't have run your mouth. Even your mom and dad think that they should have done a better job of teaching you the consequences of your actions. We'll all learn, we'll make adjustments, and we'll let it go. Eric nodded. Earlier this morning when the doctor came in, he said I might be able to go home by Wednesday. That would be great, Jojo said. Well, 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 what do we have here? Eric smiled as his other uncle came through the door. Hey, Uncle Joey. Hey, Bud. What the heck have you gone and done, huh? I'm sure you've heard the story. Yeah, I have, Joey said. He reached out and ruffled Jojo's hair in greeting, and then offered his hand to his brother. Mark, you doing okay? I guess, considering. Joey smiled up at his big brother. You feeling guilty? You know me too well. Grinning in agreement, Joey turned back to his nephew and leaned over the bed and ran his hand gently over the young man's forehead. You gave us all a scare. Yes, sir, I'm sorry. Well, save the apologies for your mom. For me, you just get healthy. Got it. Thanks, Uncle Joey. Sorry I wasn't here for you last night. It's okay. Jason said you were on assignment last night, Mark asked. Yeah, actually, while I'm here, I'd like to talk to you about it. Really? That's a new one. Usually I can't pry the information out of you. Yeah, well, I have a feeling you're going to be part of all this. It's about Bella Landau. Mark came to attention. She's okay? For now, yeah. Step outside and we'll talk. Besides, these guys probably have lies they want to get straight. Funny, Uncle Joey, Jojo said. Mark and Joey walked down to a small waiting area and took a seat. I understand you had Logan Landau with you last night. Yeah, I did. The Landaus had some big dinner at the governor's mansion. I know. I was there. I've been hired by Bree Sheridan, Bella's sister, to protect Bella from her husband. She believes she's being abused by the man. Well, I believe the same thing. Yeah, well, I can confirm it. All the signs are there. I broke up what would have been him roughing her up in a deserted hallway at the governor's house last night. Apparently, Gordon was angry at her for paying too much attention to some guy who'd had a little too much to drink. I saw him grab her by the arm and jerk her off down a back hall. Mark's jaw clenched. Did he hurt her? He would have. He didn't have time because I intervened, and that tells me that if he's taking the chance of showing himself at an event like that, it means he's pretty much out of control. Mark shook his head. I've been turning over in my mind what I'm going to do to get her out of her situation. In class yesterday, I noticed bruises all over her arm. She said it was from practicing with Logan. Well, she's lying. I'm not supposed to let her know she's I'm not supposed to let her know she's being protected, and protecting her is a little difficult since she's sleeping with the enemy. What I'm aiming for is gathering enough evidence against Gordon Landau to make him let her and Logan go without a fight. Mark nodded. Then my part is to convince her that she can leave him. Joey eyed his older brother. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you to do. Breeze apparently hasn't been able to get through, but that's because Bella sees herself as trapped. Maybe, coming from you, she'll put a little more stock in what you have to say about it. I'm hoping you'll be able to talk some sense into her. He was silent a moment. You like her? Mark grimaced, but he didn't try to hide his feelings from Joey. They were close, almost like twins, finishing each other's sentences, communicating almost telepathically, the epitome of brotherly love and loyalty. It would be ridiculous to try to hide the feelings he had for Bella from his brother. It's more than just liking her, Joe. If she weren't married, I'd so be pursuing her. Joey nodded. She's a sweet lady and a looker. Her sister, on the other hand, is a handful. Mark's eyebrows rose. Really now? And do I detect a note of interest? A freaking symphony, man. It's crazy. I just met her Friday, but I have to say the chemistry is powerful, and not only that, I'm even feeling a little, I don't know, I guess you could say territorial. He shrugged. Anyway, doesn't matter what I'm feeling. She's a client, but she won't be forever. Exactly. Well, at least yours is available. Be patient, bro. I have no choice. What is it Ricky always said? Joey reminded him. There's always a choice, they said in unison. Well, let me get back in there and give Eric a hard time. I have about 4 hours to sleep and then get back to work. Someone's watching over Bella for now? Jeff Davis, Joey said. Are there orders to intervene? Mark asked. You think we should stand by and let it happen? You think we would stand by and let it happen? Mark shrugged. What if it blows your cover? Well, then it's blown. Bella's safety is first and foremost. Joey eyed Mark's furrowed brow. We'll take care of her. I promise. Mark nodded with a sigh. I just feel so useless, man. You know what I mean? I want to do something to help her. Actually, what I want is to kick Gordon's butt. Or maybe something a little more drastic than that. Yeah, I get you. The thought of him putting his hands on her, he shook his head. It just sickens me. Joey eyed Mark. She's married to the man, Mark. You've got to step back a little. I know. But those bruises on her arms, they're defensive wounds, Joe. The scenario of what must have happened to her to put those bruises there, I mean, she'd have to be raising her arm to block a punch. Jeez. Joey didn't dare tell him what took place last night in the happy couple's bed. Look, the best you can do right now is convince her that it's possible to leave him. Make sure she understands that there is a way out. I will. I'll make her listen to me. In the meantime, you go rest so you can get back to work. I'll feel a lot better when I know you're on the job. No offense to Jeff. Joey grinned. I'll take that as a compliment. New scene. Breeze lunged for the ball, swung hard, and lost the grip on her racket. Both tennis ball and racket hit the net. Her partner jogged toward her. Okay, what's up, Breeze? What do you mean? You beat me. It happens. She smiled. Not often, but it happens. Not like this. I've barely broken a sweat. What's up? They walked toward a couple of chairs, and Breeze grabbed up her towel and patted her face while Sarah gulped down some water. I don't know, Sarah. Maybe I'm just worried about Bella. Sarah sighed and eased down into the chair. Did you look into Ameritech Security? I'm telling you, they are the best. They did some work for my father when he had the big opening for his mall, and he says they're top notch, state of the art, blah, blah, blah. He couldn't stop talking about them. Yes, I looked, and I hired them. Really? They're expensive, but they feel they can help me. And how does Bella feel about that? Well, Bella doesn't know. They've set up a surveillance operation to gather enough evidence so that Gordon won't be able to stop the divorce or keep Bella's son from her. And while they're gathering this evidence, I mean, hello, what's happening to Bella? Joey will be by her side, stepping in if necessary to make sure she's okay. Joey? Agent Adams. He's the Ameritech agent assigned to the case. Joey Adams? As in the actor karate guy who fights in the Kino challenges? One and the same. Wow. Does he look as good in person as he does on the screen? Bree shrugged. He's kind of cute. Sarah eyed her friend. Kind of cute, huh? What are you talking about? Don't try to hide anything from me, Breeze. You're interested in him, aren't you? No, don't deny it, she added when Breeze raised her chin. Okay, give me the scoop. Breeze broke into a sly smile. He's gorgeous. He's hot. He's so freaking tough. He's smart. He is the ultra alpha male. And she stopped, not sure what she wanted to share the rest. And he what? Sarah asked, her voice rising. Bree shrugged. Nothing. Oh, no, girlfriend. You can't just stop talking like that. You tell me now or I'll never speak to you again. Breeze grinned at her. It'll cost you lunch. On me. Now finish. I've never had a man kiss me where I didn't want it to end, where I could feel it down to my toes, among other places, and where I can't stop thinking about it. Back up, back up. He kissed you? When? Last night, Bree said as she went on to tell all about her evening. So that's why you couldn't play worth crap today. Wow, I've got to get a look at this guy. I was thinking I'd download one of his movies, Bree said, just to, do a little research. Oh, yeah, girl, I know. The main thing is he's totally into his job. I feel good knowing he's looking after Bella. I'm so glad you told me about Ameritech. Me too. So tell me, do you think this might turn out to be a real relationship for you? Bree shrugged. I don't know. Probably not. Why not? Well, he's cocky, and usually for me that would be a real turnoff, but then again, on him, it just sort of fits, you know? I mean, I'm sure he can back up anything he says, and he's hot. And I can't get that kiss out of my mind, but here's the real kicker. I like him. He's funny. He's intelligent, and I get the idea he'd treat a woman with so much care. Oh, wow, listen to you, Breeze. You've got it bad. Yeah, I guess I do. And that's a recipe for pain, isn't it? I'll have to try to keep my feelings out of it. Yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to turn him down in other ways, now does it? Bree smiled sweetly. No, I certainly don't have to turn him down. This is so delicious. You better keep me posted. New scene. For Mark, Monday morning court had been a challenge to say the least, and then afterward, instead of getting some work done, he'd had to grab lunch with his boss and the county prosecutor. He supposed he should be grateful to Justin for the hookup. Finally, back at the office, he'd been hard at work all afternoon. He'd been hoping to take the afternoon off and go watch JoJo's football practice, but that obviously wasn't going to happen. He'd try again tomorrow. JoJo's first game was this coming Thursday. It was almost 5, and he was finishing up some paperwork when his cell phone rang. He flipped it open on the third ring. "Mark Adams," he said, distracted by the file in front of him. "Master Mark, this is Logan." Mark sat up straight and gave his full attention to the young man on the phone. "Logan, everything okay?" he asked, his heart skipping a beat. Yes, sir. It's just, well, you said I could call, I mean, about the test and all, but I can talk to you later if, like, you're busy or something." "Not at all, Logan. I needed a break." "So, did you have a specific question, or are you just feeling a bit nervous?" "Well, maybe a little nervous." "Well, you'll do fine, son. Just think of it as class. When you test, if you do everything the way you do in class, you'll pass with no problems." "Will you be there?" "I will, and so will Master Kane, and I think Grandmaster Keno intends to drop by. I'm just telling you that now so it doesn't freak you out on Saturday." "Thanks. He's like your father, right?" "Well, my father lives in San Francisco. Grandmaster Keno is my stepfather, but I've spent at least half my life since I was 8 years old with him. He's a great man, and we're very close." "Are you close to your real dad?" "Sure. We have a lot of mutual respect and love in our family. I think that's because my mother is so full of love." "Yeah, my mom is too." "I can tell your mom loves you very much." "Yeah, she's cool. I just wish—" When he didn't go on, Mark tried to urge him. "Go ahead, Logan. You can say anything to me. I promise whatever you tell me won't go any further." Mark waited in silence while the young man pulled his thoughts together. His heart went out to him when he heard a slight sniffle. "Well, I mean, my dad. I just wish he was more like you. What I mean is, well, you're so nice and all. You'd never, well, forget it." "Logan, I can't forget it. I think I know what you're trying to tell me. I know it hurts to say it, but it will help to have it off your chest. Listen, you're not alone. I think I know what's going on, and I intend to do something about it." "Oh, no, you can't. It will only make things worse for her." "I want you to trust me. I'm not going to let anything else happen to your mom. I'm going to help her. Things can't go on like they are. Your father has hit your mom, hasn't he?" Silence. "Logan?" "Yes, sir." "How often does it happen?" "All the time. It used to be just every once in a while, but now it's gotten a lot worse." "Worse like once a month?" "Oh, more than that. Maybe like every week. Or really, it's like every day. He yells at her or hits her and stuff." Mark swallowed hard to suppress the fury. "Does he ever hit you, Logan?" "No, sir. I wish he would. I wish he'd hit me instead of her." "I understand you feeling that way, Logan, but that wouldn't help your mom. You see, she loves you, and that would hurt her even more. Listen, I want you to know that I'm working on a solution. I'm going to get your mom out of this situation." "How?" "He won't let her go. I heard him tell her that if she ever tried to leave him, he'd make sure she'd never see me again." "Well, that won't happen." "You don't know. He can do anything. He's got lots of friends, judges and stuff. He says they'll never believe her." "Well, your father has met his match," Mark said firmly. "Chin up, kiddo. It's all going to work out." "Promise? Can you really promise that?" Mark drew a deep breath. "Yes, son, I promise." Logan remained silent while he regained his composure. Finally, he found his voice. "Thank you, Master Mark." "Thank you, Logan, for trusting me. Where's your mom right now?" "She's downstairs cooking dinner. He gets real mad if dinner isn't on the table when he gets home, or if something's not right." Trying to gather a little more evidence, Mark pressed him. "What do you mean, not right?" "Like the other day, I think it was Thursday. There were spots on his water glass. And first he just yelled at her about being lazy and stuff. And when she didn't move fast enough to get him another glass, he threw the glass at her. And she ran into the kitchen and he went after her. And she was scared, Master Mark. I begged him to leave her alone. And he slapped her and I jumped on his back. But he pulled me off and told me to go to my room. I wasn't going to go, but my mom, she was crying and begging me to do what she said, what he said. I finally did. He stopped and wiped his nose before he went on. I could hear him hitting her. I could hear her crying, but I just stayed in my room. You did the right thing, Logan. I know it seems like you should do something, but your mom doesn't want to have to worry about you, too. I hate him. I want to kill him. Who are you talking to? Bella asked, her voice shrill. No one, Mom. The phone went dead. Mark blew out a breath and dialed Joey. Yeah, Joey said when he answered. I got it all on record. Well, what's happening now? He won't tell her who he was talking to. She's crying and telling him he must never tell anyone about his dad. Joey was silent a moment while he listened and watched. He's telling her he's sorry. She's hugging him, asking him if he's done his homework and telling him to go get ready for dinner. His father will be home soon. Mark sighed. Okay. Thanks, Joe. Yeah. Hey, bro. We'll get him. She's going to be okay. Yeah. Logan, he's a good kid, Joey added. He's an amazing kid. Well, we'll do right by him, Joey assured Mark before he hung up. New scene. Wednesday morning, Breeze opened the door and found her heart fluttering. Agent Joseph Adams stood on her front porch, a cocky smile on his angel face. His brown eyes twinkled as if he knew what she was thinking. Drawing a deep breath, she frowned up at him. Good morning, gorgeous, he said, reaching out to tug on a shiny black curl. She looked him over. He was dressed in jeans and a USC t-shirt. His light brown hair was tousled as if he'd merely run his hand through it when he dressed. She looked down her nose. What are you doing here? Aren't you going to invite me in? He asked. Realizing she was showing extremely bad manners, she opened the door wider and stepped aside. Of course, sorry. Please come in. As he passed her, she could smell soap and the light, spicy scent of aftershave, and she had a strong urge to lean close and sniff, which she resisted. Jason asked me to give you a report on what we have so far. I suppose I should have called and scheduled an appointment, but my nephew came home from the hospital this morning, and I was on my way to their house to see him. You were on the way, so I thought I'd take a chance. Do you have some time this morning, or should I make that appointment? No, I have time, she said, tugging on the collar of the blouse she wore. I was just having breakfast. I'd offer you some Special K, but you don't strike me as the type. His smile flashed. Are we alone? Why do you ask? He shrugged. Well, I was going to offer to cook a real breakfast for you, and I was wondering if you had a maid or housekeeper or butler, someone who takes care of you in this giant palace, whose domain I would be intruding upon. I mean, in a place like this, he said, his arms swinging wide at the luxurious home. I figure there's someone. Her eyes swept the foyer, trying to see what he saw. No, I live alone. You take care of this place by yourself? Well, I have someone come in once a week. This was my parents' home, but it's hardly a palace. Maybe not, but it's very, very nice, he said appreciatively as he circled the foyer and came back to stand in front of her. So, no cook? No. He moved close. Then let me cook for you. She stepped back. That's really not necessary. He shrugged. Okay, then you cook for me. She rolled her eyes at him. I don't cook. Amused, he took her hand. Well, then I'll cook for me. Show me the kitchen. Sighing, she pulled her hand from his grasp and led the way. Joey watched her as she walked. She wore some tight jeans, an unbuttoned blue and white striped tailored shirt over a white tank top. Her feet were bare, her hair was down, and she wore no makeup. He could eat her alive. The kitchen was as big and elaborate as the house. Brown and gold granite countertops shone in the early morning sun. A stainless steel cooktop graced the large center island. The morning news was being broadcast on a TV built into one of the cabinets. Breeze picked up a remote and turned it off. Joey reached up and grabbed a small skillet from above his head. Eggs are in the fridge, I bet, Joey said with a grin. Sit down, Breeze. I'll take it from here. Fine, she said as she eased down at a small table set in a bay window and looked out over the backyard. She spooned up some cereal that had gone soggy, looked it over, and put the spoon down. Joey rummaged through the refrigerator, coming out with eggs, butter, onion, tomato, cheese, and milk. Eyeing a bread box, he grabbed the loaf inside and added it to his mix. So, is Bella okay? Breeze asked as she watched Joey work. For now. Has he hurt her since you've been listening in? He's threatened her, he's belittled her, he's ordered her around and called her names. He hasn't hit her since I've been on the job, but he did last Thursday. She came to the counter. Last Thursday? That was the day before I came into Ameritech. How do you know about last Thursday and what happened? As Joey chopped vegetables and beat eggs, he told her of the conversation he'd heard between Mark and Logan. Bree shook her head, her eyes moist. She called Logan a few choice names. We have to get her out. We will. Bella and Logan are going to a belt party at my mother's house Saturday, and belt party? Yeah, you know, martial arts, black belt. There's a promotion test for Bella and Logan's class Saturday. Jojo, Mark's son, wanted to have a party on the beach, and Bella and Logan will be there. So Mark intends to get Bella alone and let her know her options in no uncertain terms. Your brother is a saint. Joey gave a short burst of laughter. Yeah, I'll tell him you said so. But no, really, he cares about Bella and Logan. He's had them in his Saturday class for almost 2 years. You went to him with what you know? Look, I don't make it a habit to discuss assignments with my brother, but he already suspected. And when I spoke to him, he'd been about to confront Bella about it anyway. He was going to tell her that he could help her. I trust him, and he was relieved to know that I was watching over her. I know how he feels, Breeze mumbled. She rose and retrieved 2 plates and set them on the counter. So now what? Well, he's still going to confront her on Saturday. He's going to let her know that he knows what's going on, help her understand that there is a way out, and that she doesn't have to stay in that situation. Hopefully, she'll be willing to listen. She knows him, and he thinks that she trusts him. I hope you're right, Bree said softly as she watched Joey slide half of an omelet onto each plate. He buttered toast and placed it next to the eggs. One way or the other, Breeze, this business with Gordon is done. He smiled. Would you mind grabbing some juice and a couple of forks? Hmm? Oh, yes, of course. Joey carried plates to the table while Breeze poured juice. He watched her as she walked to the table, licking OJ off her finger, and for a moment he couldn't breathe. Breeze sat and scooped up some eggs, and her eyes opened wide. Oh, this is delicious. Thanks. I like cooking. Actually thought about becoming a chef at one point. She smiled at him. Really? Now that's interesting. A chef, a martial artist, an actor, a security agent. You're a man of many talents. Oh, you don't know the half of it, he said slyly. And cocky, she added. Confident, he corrected. He watched her as she ate. Beautiful Bree Sheridan came across as being a hard nut, but Joey could sense something much different. She lived alone in a giant house. She ate Special K at the table by the window while the TV kept her company. Lonely. She seemed lonely and actually quite vulnerable. Of course, she would never admit to that. He smiled at her. So, we know about me. Tell me about you, Breeze. She shrugged. What do you want to know? Well, you live in this big house all alone. You attend dinners at the governor's mansion. You have money to burn and you worry about your sister. What else? Well, there's really not anything else. His eyes looked her over and he cleared his throat. I doubt that. What do you do? Do you work? Do you have any hobbies? Who are your friends? Friends? Well, there's some girls at the country club that I play tennis with and go to lunch with. No one special, though. Bella used to be my best friend before she married. Well, I can understand that. Mark and I are like that. So, you say you play tennis? Yeah, I took lessons for years. I got pretty good for a while, then burned out. Do you play? Sure. You'll have to come out and kick my butt sometime. Happy to, she said politely. How old were you when your parents died? I was 20. They were coming home from a stupid fundraiser and a drunk driver came out of nowhere. It completely devastated me. I couldn't believe it. I sometimes still can't. I've actually come in the house and started to call out, Mom, I'm home, before I realize what I'm doing. I thought about selling this big old house and just taking off, but then I can't bring myself to do it. It's like I feel lost. Thinking how hard it would be to lose his own parents, Joey reached across the table and squeezed her hand. It had to be tough. Breeze looked down at the strong hand holding hers. It was tough. Bella was already married, and Logan was only a little guy then, 3 or 4, I think. At the time, I thought Bella was lucky, like at least she had a husband and child to take care of, to keep her occupied. Now I realize when she learned of our parents' death, it was probably like being thrown overboard to the sharks for her, because if my father was still around, no way would Bella be in this situation. Joey stood and began clearing dishes. Yeah, I think you're right. She lost her lifeline. I bet things got worse for her after your parents died. What I mean is, I bet Gordon got worse. He didn't have your father to answer to anymore. He could do what he wanted to Bella. Bree stood, rinsed dishes, and loaded them into the dishwasher. They worked silently, side by side, for several minutes. So, you don't work? Joey asked when the chore was complete. She turned and leaned against the counter. Actually, I paint. That's my thing, I guess. My dream. Joey grinned. I've been thinking about doing the walls in my loft, a nice spiced pumpkin. Maybe you can come by and give me your opinion. Not that kind of painting, she growled. Really? Oh, you mean like a portrait? He came to stand right in front of her. No, you idiot. I mean like landscape type art. He moved closer, smiling at the flash of anger in her blue eyes. Really? Yes, really. He placed his right hand on the counter next to her and grabbed a curl with his left. I'd like to see your landscapes. Very funny. She went to move away, but he placed his left hand down on the counter, imprisoning her. He knew he was over the limit, but he couldn't seem to help himself. Move out of my way. You don't really want me to, do you, Breeze? Don't flatter yourself. He chuckled. You forget who you're talking to. Besides, you don't fool me. I know exactly how you responded when I kissed you Saturday night. Her cheeks flamed. Well, how very uncouth for you to mention that. His hands came up to cup her face. I only mention it because you affect me the same way, Breeze. I don't know what I'm going to do about you. You make me crazy. You make me forget myself. I keep telling myself, hands off, but I can't seem to resist you. His head dipped and he touched his lips gently to hers. When she winced, he pulled away. He looked into her eyes, which were darkening with passion, and he realized her wince was from trying to fight it. Tell me no, Breeze. Push me away. Please. Her hands came up to lay flat against his chest. He waited for her to push. He would step back. He promised himself he would. Breeze intended to push him away, but when her hands met the hard muscles of his chest, she was too tempted to explore, and she moved her hands over him, feeling the dip between his pectorals. He grunted, and she looked up into his eyes. The moment she did, he bent and kissed her mouth. Her eyes closed, and she let him take her to heaven. He moved closer, his hand moved through her hair, cradling her head. He cursed softly, mostly at himself, for not being able to resist the pull of this amazing woman. He drew away and gazed at her, his breath labored. What was he doing? She was a client. Had he completely lost his mind? Breeze gazed up at him, her heart hammering. She knew he battled for control, but she didn't want him to gain it. Don't stop, she whispered. And that is the end of chapter 3.